Some ASP.NET web pages can take a long time to respond to the user's input. A good example of this is the primes.aspx page that you've worked with many times in this session. In these cases, it's good practice to display an indicator to show the user that the page is loading. This reassures the user that the application has not crashed and stops them from closing their web browser. To begin this lesson, open the Mathland project from your Sample Files folder. And open primes.aspx in Design View. Now you're going to add a loading indicator to the page. First, expand the Images folder in the Solution Explorer. Now click and drag loading.gif from the Images folder to the area below Calculate Primes. A dialog appears asking you to provide additional information about the image. Click OK. Your loading indicator has been added to the page, but you will need to add JavaScript code to display it when the user clicks the Calculate Primes button. You can't use C# code to do this because of the restrictions of ASP.NET's request and response system. When the user clicks the Calculate Primes button, a request is sent to the web server. The web server doesn't send a response back to the user until it has finished calculating all of the prime numbers. So it isn't able to display anything to the user until the calculations are already complete. JavaScript code runs in the user's web browser, so it can display the loading indicator to the user immediately, without needing to contact the server. First, you're going to hide your loading indicator and set its ID. Click on the loading image that you just added and set its ID property to Image Loading. Now set its style property to Display None. After setting the style property, the loading indicator disappears. The CSS code Display None hides the image from view. Next, you'll need to add some JavaScript code to display the loading indicator when the user clicks Calculate Primes. Select the button Calculate Primes control, and in the Properties window, set the OnClientClick property to Show Loading Indicator, begin brackets, end brackets, semicolon. This will call the Show Loading Indicator JavaScript function from the web page's source code whenever the button is clicked. Switch to Source View now and scroll to the top of the code. You will notice that I have included a Show Loading Indicator JavaScript function. Now add the following code inside the Show Loading Indicator function. $, begin brackets, begin single quotes, hash, image, loading, end single quotes, end brackets, dot show, begin brackets, end brackets, semicolon. This JavaScript code calls the show method of the jQuery JavaScript library. You'll learn more about jQuery in Lesson 9.9. The show method will unhide the loading indicator. Now add the following code on the next line. $, begin brackets, begin single quotes, hash, image, loading, end single quotes, end brackets, .attr, begin brackets, begin single quotes, src, end single quotes, comma, begin single quotes, images / loading .gif, end single quotes, end brackets, semicolon. This code uses jQuery to set the src property of the loading image so that it will display the correct image. The only reason that this is necessary is because of a bug in Internet Explorer that will prevent the loading indicator from animating correctly. In all other modern web browsers, you would not need this line of code. Test your progress indicator by viewing primes.aspx in your web browser. Click Calculate Primes, and the loading indicator appears while the calculation is running. When loading is complete, the page posts back. This refreshes the page in your web browser, resetting the loading indicator so that it is hidden again. Close your web browser now, and close Visual Studio. You've now completed Lesson 3.9. Display a loading indicator using JavaScript.